So let's start by sitting upright. The head is suspended from above. Body is relaxed, at ease. Think of your entire skeleton as being gently pulled up through the crown. Think of all the soft tissue in your body, the flesh and so forth, to melt. Let it become soft, released. Following the pull of gravity. Now we're going to take a few deep, long, comfortable breaths. Allow your breath to gradually sink down into the belly. You always make sure that you're breathing in a way that feels good. Don't squeeze the breath or force it. Receiving yourself with kindness, with compassion. Giving yourself some space. Gently smiling a bit with your lips and your eyes. Let go of all the tension between your eyes and in the face. Let your eyes become soft. And breathing in, you allow your mind, your consciousness to spread out into your whole body, saturating the body with consciousness. As you breathe out, let go of all the unnecessary physical tension. Let your body become more and more soft, open, and released. With each in-breath, feeling the body. With each out-breath, releasing, softening. Please keep in mind that releasing or softening the body doesn't mean to collapse your posture. It means to really melt the flesh, melt the fascia, the soft tissue, everything, let it become more and more open. It's really kind of like allowing gravity to pass through your body from the crown all the way down into the seat. And you can only do that if your body is quite open and free from tension. Keeping it really simple. Breathing in, feeling. Breathing out, softening. And there's really no limit to how soft, how open, how spacious the body can become. When I talk about the body, I talk about your perception of the body right now, which is simply a bunch of feelings, kind of like a cloud of sensations. Usually people overlay their imagination of arms and legs upon that cloud of sensation. Well, instead of doing that, we're just simply going to work directly with this cloud of aliveness. Feel become more and more open, subtle, soft. You can think of all your sensations, all the feelings, as being your breath. The entire body is made out of breath. And as your whole body is made out of breath, you can feel the entire body expand as you breathe in. You can feel it settle as you breathe out. And once your body has settled down, the mind is not as restless as it was before. We're simply open to the experience of being here. Simple presence. See what it is that you're aware of in this moment. It might be a sound, a sensation, a bunch of words that fly through the space of your head. Just training yourself to know where your attention is right this second, right this moment. Feeling, hearing, thinking, knowing what is happening while it is happening. without reacting to it in any way. We're not actively trying to do something or change anything. Simply observe what is going on. Knowing feeling as just feeling. Thinking as just thinking. Hearing as just hearing. Notice how fast each and every experience changes into a different experience. How fast the attention jumps from object to object, and how effortless. We're not assigning any meaning to whatever is going on either. Simply just experiencing what is as it is. Notice also that some of the experiences you may like, and others you may not like. Just observing what it's like to desire something, want something, or to resist something. And as we've settled down into the present moment more fully, we can come to the breath. Breathing in, simply just knowing that you're breathing in. knowing when the in-breath starts, when it ends. As you breathe out, simply just knowing that you're breathing out. Knowing the first moment and the last moment of your exhalation. Let all the other stuff that may come into your mind be in the background. You may hear sounds, have thoughts, notice other sensations. But first and foremost, you know whether you're breathing in or out right now. Might even be able to feel the wind as it moves through your nose. While you're breathing in, you can feel the breath inside of your nose. Perhaps a sense of coolness or a slight pressure. The same goes for breathing out. So all we do is just simply keeping this feeling in mind. Not forgetting it. See if you can remain aware of the duration of just one single breath, fully aware from the first moment of the in-breath all the way down to the last moment of the out-breath. Just one breath. Within the span of about roughly a minute, you may be able to do this quite many times actually. And perhaps sometimes you might even be able to do this for 2 consecutive breaths. Perhaps even 3. Like tiny little droplets that eventually form a stream of water. A continuous awareness. In your own time, you can slowly return, open your eyes and maybe stretch a little bit. All right. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. So this entire path can be broken down into 3 distinct types of training. Trying to make things a little bit more simple So hopefully it makes sense. The first training can be seen as a foundation, without which the second training doesn't really work properly, without which the third training doesn't really work properly. The first training is all about your lifestyle, you can say, your character, personality. It's about what you do with your time, with your day, with yourself. The second training is about the direct practice of meditation, which aims to let the mind sink into complete stillness. You can think of that as a stillness of attention. Like right now, your attention is continuously moving around, right? It goes from limb to limb inside of your body. It goes outside into the soundscape, and it goes to past memories and future hopes and fears and all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole lot of movement within the body of our attention. Stilling that, this is the second training. So you may wonder, why do we still our attention? What's the point? Stilling your attention, or stilling the mind, could also be said to be a process of empowering your mind. Actually, it's kind of like going to the gym, building muscle. For the mind, the internal kind of mental muscle is the muscle of stillness. The more still your mind is, the more powerful your mind is. Okay, the degree of stillness determines the power of your mind. How powerful means it is usable. It's pliable. You can do things with it, which is very difficult for someone that doesn't have a well-trained mind, where the attention is continuously moving around. That mind is quite useless. If you've ever observed yourself thinking about something, watch how chaotic that is. It just basically is jumping from association to association, just jumping around randomly. It's really hard to actually have a well-structured train of thought with a well-concentrated mind that thinks something through from A to B to C to D, step by step. And you can see that kind of trait within the normal, ordinary, untrained person in a conversation. How people talk with one another. Just a normal, standard conversation between two people. First of all, there's not a great deal of listening, just in general. Because it is difficult for us to continuously pay attention to something. The mind becomes kind of uncomfortable when you force it to pay attention to something. Some people get a headache physically. They can't do it. It's like, I have to concentrate on this hard work task. I have to look at the screen. It gives me a headache. I can't do it. Because the mind is so weak, you cannot use it. It's like holding this bottle up, for example. It requires some degree of strength. If my arm has no strength, I can't hold that bottle up for long before my muscles become weak. Same goes for your mind. The stronger your muscles are, the more functionally strong they are, the better. Same goes for your mind. The strength of your mind is the ability to keep it still. The third training is the training of liberating insight. There's a difference between just normal insight and liberating insight. A lot of people nowadays, they've read a lot of books, they've Googled a lot, they have a lot of intellectual terms, words, sentences, concepts, ideas in their heads, about meditation maybe even, spiritual ideas, nice little spiritual concepts, like everything is energy, or all things are saturated with consciousness. Consciousness is at the base of the universe. It's the substrate of the universe. Or we are all one. It's super easy to say these things, actually, isn't it? It's so easy. You can tell all kinds of stuff about chakras and auras and energy and I've read a lot of stuff, so got a lot of fancy thoughts in my head. But all that means nothing. Zero. If it isn't liberating. If it isn't actually changing your cells, your nervous system, your response to life, your physical body, and your response to both pleasure and pain. So all the philosophy that you may have in your head becomes completely useless when your life goes down the drain. When you become severely ill, you lose something that you like very much. You get older, and things that you've previously enjoyed are not enjoyable anymore as a consequence of getting older. Senses do not work properly anymore. Things slow down. And all the nice philosophy and all the nice stuff is kind of like a shelter made of paper within a hurricane. And when the hurricane comes, what are you going to do with your paper shelter? Not much. But a paper shelter nonetheless is quite nice. As long as the sun shines and as long as things are good, you don't even notice. Like you could as well do without a paper shelter. Right? So it isn't really functional. Your spiritual practice is not a spiritual practice, just a bunch of nice ideas. So that's why we should actually put ourselves to the test and our practice to the test and see if we are actually capable of upholding our nice little ideas when things get rough, when things are difficult. A simple way to make things difficult could be, maintain a simple routine. That's already very difficult for most. Just keep getting up early at the same time. Or go to bed at the same time. Just don't follow your preferences. That's already pretty tough. That would be a sign of somebody that's already pretty solid on the spiritual path, as a person that doesn't do what they want to do, but instead does what's right and what's good for them and others. And that's very often not what feels good. It's much more easy to do what feels good. I mean, that's what we do most of the time. We do the things that feel right, that feel good, that's, very impulsive. Like everything in our life is designed to please us, to make us feel sheltered, to make us feel good. And all our efforts are towards abandoning what doesn't feel right, what doesn't feel good, what doesn't feel happy and fuzzy and warm. And that's why we keep getting ourselves into trouble over and over and over again. So that would be a simple way to test whether your inside, whether your nice ideas actually still stand when a storm comes, is to do what is right for yourself, what is good for yourself in the long run, in the long term, which doesn't feel nice, which doesn't feel right in most of the times. And while you're doing that, you maintain that, for example, the direct perception of the idea that everything is consciousness or something like that. If you ever really experience that, which is very unlikely. You may have an idea in your mind, and I tell you that, the mind is really tricky. You may read something in a book and it goes like, wow, damn, that is so deep. And it gives you that real solid experience in that moment to feel like, yeah, I get this. It's true. I understand this. And what's even more tragic is that a lot of people who have these kind of little flashes, oftentimes also drug-induced, on top of that, are completely delusional, and then they start to teach meditation, or they start to teach other people spirituality or something like this, because they've had that little high. That's what degenerates all these old venerable paths. It destroys them, washes them down. It's a huge responsibility, these kind of teachings, if you will, or these kind of discussions or whatever. And the responsibility is to, first of all, stay grounded. So we start with the first training. And that already requires a great deal of sincerity with ourselves. Basically, get your stuff together. Like, do what you know you must be doing and stop doing what you know you should stop. I think everyone in the room immediately can think of something that, you shouldn't be doing and something you should be doing, right? It's fairly simple. We all know that. There's a voice inside of you that comes out of an urge to be happy. That kind of, it's almost like God's calling you in a way. And that voice is driven to experience, for you to experience goodness and happiness and joy and so on and so forth. But it is also clouded, it's very confused. That same voice that wants you to be happy is confused as to the causes of happiness. Doesn't actually understand what really gives rise to happiness. So it thinks that things that actually give rise to problems are a real cause for happiness. Likewise, it thinks that things that are inconvenient are that are hurtful are not a cause of happiness. But that's not actually correct. Things that are inconvenient and hurtful are not necessarily a cause for suffering. In fact, very often they are exactly what you need. If you have problems in your life, if things go not your way, that's very good. It's precisely what you need in that moment so you can get over yourself. You can evolve. If everything always goes your way, you just stay stuck. You just stay the person that you've been yesterday, last minute, last month, last year. So these 3 trainings start just in our lifestyle. Think of it like this. How much meditation do you do each day? How many minutes, hours do you practice? And then place that against the time that you spend in distraction. So say you're doing an hour of meditation every day, which is amazing already. If you have managed that, you sit down for an hour, you do your practice, but then you still have like 12, 13, 14 hours of distraction against that. So you're cultivating distraction for 12 hours, and then you're trying to be focused for 1. Does that feel like progress? If it does, then something has brainwashed you in some way to make you feel like, yeah, if I just do this every day, I'll be riding off into the sunset. It's going to be a happy ending. Everything is going to be great. But we all know if you do 1 step forward and 12 steps back or in the other direction, nothing great can come out of that. So that's why the lifestyle that you have, which means the time that is in between your meditation sessions, in short, is that in alignment with your meditative training or not? Does it actually support your meditation, or does it work against it? And of course, that's kind of like it's not a black and white thing. Like, maybe it supports your meditation practice to a certain degree, and it could be optimized. But maybe it is also detrimental in other ways. And you could change those ways. The idea is really that your meditation practice and the spiritual development is the central core of your life. This is why you're here. You're here to, I'm using this really cheesy word, to ascend. You're here to move up. Christians would say, you're here to move towards God. The Buddhists would say, you're here to liberate yourself from suffering. That's the point. This is what you're already all trying anyways, every day. Every effort you make is an attempt to make things better, isn't it? Super simple. So why not directly address that? Why not actually make things better? We wouldn't do it though, because that would mean that you'd have to stop being yourself. That's the hardest thing ever. So you have to stop being yourself. It's quite the contrary to what modern day culture often states, which is just be yourself. I don't think that's good advice at all. I'm a mess. Like, I don't want to stay a mess. There's work to be done. If I were to just celebrate myself, then what does that mean? It means that it's kind of a very narcissistic statement of, I am already perfect. There's no work that needs to be done here. I'm the best. On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate yourself? Surprising just how many people say 10 these days. It's shocking. I'm at 10. Really? What makes you feel that? Well, it's upbringing very often. Upbringing. Constantly coddled. Everyone tells you you're the best. You're amazing. Wow, so great. Even if what you did wasn't that amazing or great. All it's just like, wow, you're the best. And a kind of dishonesty that is underlying a lot of our perceptions that we have of ourselves and the world, to break through them and to see ourselves with sincerity, really with honesty, to actually address our shortcomings and our suffering that comes from those shortcomings is a crucial first step. If you're not honest with yourself, forget the spiritual path. The spiritual path is a path towards truth. It is based on truth. It is leading towards a profound appreciation and experience of truth directly. If you can't be honest with yourself, you can't even do the very first step. And being honest with ourselves is, not that easy. But it really does help to, for example, ask yourself what you really want, ask yourself what you need to do in order to get there, and then work towards that. And just by working towards that, by implementing a certain structure into your life, then you will already bump into yourself and into your excuses and justifications and all that kind of stuff. So to keep yourself small. You can start with something really basic. Like, okay, try to, for 10 days in a row, to get up at 5 a.m. and begin your day with a meditation, half an hour or something like that. And do that consistently for those 10 days or 20 days or whatever, right? Just give yourself a task and complete it. Make sure it's not too difficult, but Also make sure it's not something that is too easy either. You kind of want to impress yourself a little, so that you can show yourself, wow, I'm capable of doing something that I thought I couldn't. That's how you change. That's how you learn more about yourself. Oh, actually, I didn't think that I could be doing something like that. And once you have done it, at the end of it, you look back at yourself, you see that you were the one that got you through this. You were the one that actually, how do you say it? Well, your trust in yourself grows. You know, I stick around when things get rough. I'll get myself through this difficult time. I can do that. And then you start building upon that, and you give yourself more and more difficult, more and more meaningful tasks. And you need to attack those things within yourself that are harmful, that are not serving yourself or anyone else. Like, stop doing those things that feel good but hurt you. This is super difficult. I find that incredibly hard. Because I have all the best excuses, you know. And my excuses sound amazing to me. So much so that I don't even notice that it's an excuse. I only notice it when my wife would point it out to me and say, like, why are you not doing the thing that you said you're going to do? And then I get angry. That's how I know. There you go. There's something underneath that anger. What do you think is that? Why do people get angry? Why are you getting angry? Because there is some truth to it, isn't there? You've been looked through. You've been exposed. And all you can now do is just bark. You know, make a whole lot of noise and just kind of just get out of the situation somehow, like a dog that's cornered, you know. Just make a lot of noise and growl. But really, you're scared, aren't you? What are you scared of? These are really important questions. You need to ask yourself that. Why do I get angry? Why do I feel bored? Why do I feel depressed? I can tell you, I think for most people these days, it's fairly obvious. I mean, look at our lifestyle. People feel lonely. Does that surprise you? That a lot of people feel lonely. Young people feel lonely. Does that surprise you? It doesn't surprise me at all. But what surprises me is that the real cause of these modern day diseases is never mentioned in the media. The cause is never mentioned. Everyone sells you something to get rid of, your problems. Here's a 10-hour video of lawnmower sounds to help you sleep. And you can listen to that lawnmower sound, and it helps you sleep, but you don't address the cause. You're not asking yourself, well, why can't I sleep? Just fix it. Just paint over it. Spray some perfume on it. It'll be good. So lifestyle is where it's at for most people. Forget meditation. The first thing is, get your life in order. And that's already super difficult for most. My teacher always calls it, be normal. This is your first task. Just be normal. That implies quite a lot. So you need to have a healthy sense of what could be improved, and then actually encourage yourself to improve those things. Best thing you can do is be part of a community like that. Best thing you can do. It's like wherever you live, whatever you do, you got to have a community of people who are all seeking to get better. Now they're doing that together, and they're doing that in a sober way. We're not painting over our misery with nice delusions, but we are encouraging ourselves to clean up what needs cleaning up, and to actually build the power and the strength which is innate in you, to let that come out. And once you get relatively good with that, you will notice it in your meditation practice. If you get your lifestyle in order, suddenly your meditation works out, and it gets better and better and better. And you can see that you're actually improving. That means you must be doing something right in between your sessions. And as you're improving, your level and access of happiness actually grows significantly. The pleasure and the happiness that is within the stillness of your mind and the body that can be felt are extraordinary. If you can access that to the degree that you can access the pleasure that is born of meditation, to that extent, you will not be dependent on the world. You'll not be dependent anymore on your senses and people around you and things to go wrong or right or whatever. It won't matter that much anymore, because you are filled with something that sustains you. That's like food. And it comes from your meditation practice. And you've done hard work to get yourself there. So the price, the result of your hard work is your independence, is your freedom. You're not any more dependent on what people think of you or what's going on in the world. You're literally free, detached. That doesn't mean indifferent. It means above, not touched by it. You're kind of like a lake that reflects a fire. The lake doesn't burn, right? But it's really intimate with the fire at the same time. But it remains totally cool. Like a TV screen maybe that displays whatever kind of movie, but the TV screen doesn't suffer the content of the movie. If a horror movie or something, the TV screen doesn't hurt, even though it's very intimate with the movie. In the same way, the more you are nourished and fed by your meditation, the more settled you feel within yourself, the less you seek within a realm that can't give you anything anyways, other than just changing phenomena. So that's that process. And the more powerful, the more calm the mind becomes, the more capable of actually releasing and letting go of things that are harmful for you and others becomes. It's so easy to let go when you're happy, because you have something to fall back onto. If you're miserable and I tell you, just let go of your sense pleasures, you'd be like, hey, wait a second, this is all I have. It's like telling a poor guy that all he has is like a little tiny teacup full of rice every day. And you say, let go of your rice. He's really silly. That's all he has. But if you give him better food, you give him like a nice noodle dish, and then you tell the guy, now let go of your rice. Easy. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Better your lifestyle gets, the better your meditation becomes. The better your meditation becomes, the less dependent you are on stuff. And if you can completely let go of your dependency on the senses, you can see into reality directly. And this is not a trivial matter. This is not a matter of just going like, oh wow, now I understand. This is earth-shattering. It will change your body, it will change your mind, it will change your life radically. There is no turning back. And the way it changes your life and your body and your mind is you don't suffer, period. You don't suffer anymore. It doesn't matter what happens to you. There is no suffering for you. No stress at all. Measurably in your nervous system, your response to difficult circumstances is not one of fight or flight anymore. It's completely and utterly released. There's the stories of some of the teachers. I think Ajahn Chah was one of them. He got like plenty, like 20 teeth pulled or something like this, like a huge number of teeth pulled in one go. And he was just happy and relaxed while he got all his teeth pulled out. Of course, the very famous story that got around the world is of the Vietnamese monk Thich Quang Duc, who was immolated in fire. He burned to death while in meditation. Video is on YouTube. I find that quite an impressive sight actually to behold, because he sits completely still, engulfed in fire. That's non-intellectual insight. This is liberating insight. This guy is free from suffering. Proof is in the pudding. It's the real deal. This is real. How can you practice that? You don't have to light yourself on fire, but you can sit still. Don't move and relax. Let go. That can show you very clearly the power of mind. If your mind is powerful enough, you get beyond the body, above the body very fast, and what has previously felt painful will become soft as cotton, light as a feather, and incredibly pleasant from one moment to the other, because your mind has changed. That's the truth. Like your body may be on fire, but if your mind changes, the fire becomes cool and pleasant. It's the weirdest thing ever. So you want to embody all those high-minded ideas, and you start by getting your life in order. Get your thoughts in order, your emotions, your plans, your structure, everything, your priorities. Why are you alive? Why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you go to sleep at night? What's driving you? Find out. What's the real driver? And I guarantee you, it's the end of suffering. You'll come always to that conclusion no matter which way you go. You'll end up there. This is what I really want. I just don't want to suffer. Because I don't want a Mercedes Benz. I couldn't care less about a box made of metal and rubber and plastic. What I really want is respect. Let's say that, okay? It's a stupid example, I know, but let's just ride with it. So I want the Mercedes Benz. What do I really want? Do I want a car? Do I want to transport a vehicle? No, it has to be the Benz. Well, why the Benz though? Well, it's comfortable. So I want to be comfortable. Is that it? It's got leather seats. How about a Honda Jazz with leather seats? Is that all right? No, it's got to be the Benz. Why? To be honest, I kind of like when I park the car and I get out of it that moment, and then someone sees me getting out of it. Or I come into the club and I put my car keys on the table and someone sees them. I kind of like that. I've had a couple of experiences when I was younger with the Benz. Got 2-3 girlfriends because of that. They all spotted my car keys. That was the conversation starter. And so now that's my connection in my head. Benz means respect, love, attention. That's what I want. Okay, I want the real thing I want is not the Benz. If I gave you, I said, I don't give you the Benz, but I give you respect, love, and attention from others. Would you still want the Benz? If I gave you exactly the thing that the bends would be giving you, you wouldn't need the bends anymore. Because it's like you've already eaten, so you're not hungry anymore. So what is it that you really want? Is it respect from others? What would it mean for you to get no respect from others? Well, suffering. So when you get respect from others, what happens? Well, that suffering that I otherwise would have ends. So you want that suffering to end. If I would take that suffering out of you, would you still have to go all the way and save up all your money and then go and buy the Benz and do all those complicated things? Or should we go straight to the suffering that's behind all of it? That's what meditation does. That's why it's the priority. This is why it's the central point of life. It's your spiritual elevation. Your spirit is the center of your life. The most important thing. Everything else should be in service of God. Everything else. It should be in service of the highest. The divine, enlightenment, the truth, your complete ascension. Happiness. Simple word for it too, huh? Everything should be in service of happiness. And I don't mean hedonism. I mean true happiness. How far can you take it? If you were to keep refining your experience of happiness and just keep building it, how far would you go? Well, you can find out with meditation. And then releasing suffering in the third training. So these are the 3 simple trainings of the whole path. This is it. Lifestyle and actions, meditation, and liberating inside. Okay? Well, that's all that comes to mind for tonight. Any questions?